Hey, welcome back to the Mindshare podcast. This is where we share strategies and insights to help you work smarter, build stronger relationships, and create the success that you deserve. Today's episode is number 337. So there's been a shift happening across Canada. People are frustrated, taxes are brutal, the economy's unstable, and after another federal election that changed absolutely nothing, a lot of people are saying, I'm done. Done with the cold, done with the cost, done with this version of Canada that no longer feels like the one that we grew up in. And more Canadians, they're looking south, dreaming of a better lifestyle. But here's the thing. Most of them have no clue what it really takes to make the move, to actually pack up your life, your family, your business, and start again somewhere like, say, Florida. Today's guest, though, he did exactly that. And he didn't just move. He built something. He built two real estate brokerages, one in Ontario, one in Florida. He's developing homes, raising a family, and helping other Canadians make the move he once did himself. So if you've ever thought about leaving, or you're just curious about what it really takes to make that kind of leap, this episode is going to open your eyes to exactly that. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare podcast is a longtime real estate investor, developer, and entrepreneur, and someone who's now living the life a lot of people are chasing. Steven Zalunardo. Steve, welcome to the Mindshare podcast, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. That was a great intro, buddy. That was awesome. This is like the most professional podcast I've ever been on.
Well, it's nice to hear that. You know, we've had a couple cracks at it, I think 337 times. So we're going to get it right at some point.
You know what you forgot in the intro? I've been your client for 15 years. We've been using your program since day one in real estate. And my clients look forward for those calendars every year.
You know, it's when your name came up as a suggestion for the show, I thought, I know the name, man. So I should start off by saying a very big thank you to you. Sincerely, it means a lot to us. Really,
I appreciate it. No, you guys do your work. You deserve it.
No, I appreciate that, Steve. So, dude, you look Florida. The palm tree in the background, the T-shirt going on, the color scheme. I want to close my eyes and just sort of like
look at this. I got white pants on.
Yeah. It's not even after Labor Day. No,
when in Florida.
I don't even know the play on that. Yeah. But man, for those who don't know yet, give us a quick version. How long have you been in the real estate business? What kind of market were you working in here in Ontario before you made that move? Because that's a big move, and I want to get into that even more detail in a moment.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate for 15 years, clearly, because this is when we started with your company as well. And we've been selling at a high level out of like the GTA area. So been top 1% in Canada for the last 10, 11 years. We built a small team now, obviously, to operate in my absence, because we have Mike Gaddy now, my business associate and partner out here in Florida, does a lot of the development with me as well. So he's boots on the ground now in Toronto, which again, I still, every morning we it's still a meeting like you would normally have a business. So we're going through it's not like our Canadian clients are stranded. I'm, it's still involved heavily every day. And then my goal is just to focus out here in Florida. So what we did here in Florida right now is we created the 4 pillars of real estate. The first one is a real estate office. So we have so we trade in real estate. I'm a broker down here as well. Which is hard to do. Clearly, it took some time. I'm never opening up a textbook ever again in my life. I got to be honest. So painful in your 40s, right? So real estate office. We do a property management company, and this is obviously to substitute, like when we sell clients homes from out of state and out of country. We have our property management company, so it's a one-stop shop. We don't have to refer them out, so they can deal with us from A to Z now, as we pronounce it in America. And then it's not said.
And it's soda. It's not pop. I got
you. There's a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
And it's It's not you're welcome, depending on what part of the states you're in.
Correct. Yeah. I'm learning. Those rockets, they call them Smarties here. It's a whole different thing. But anyway, so then we were building, our third pillar is a home development company. So we're building homes. We got our first one out of the ground and built fully ready to sell. And that was like from dirt. Imagine this, the regulations. So we bought a lot. This is why we moved also for regulations, taxation, and also a better life for our children. But we went from buying a lot, got it, literally an architect designed it. We fiddled with the design of it, got it to the city and got it approved in less than 3 months. Okay. So that's the approval process. And then we went from dirt to like installing kitchens, like millwork, in 70 days. Just think of that. It's 2 months and a week.
Wow.
So like, I mean, we can come out here and we can kind of layer, like we're coming in with a different hustle, clearly. Like, I mean, I never sleep, like I sleep clearly, but I'm always looking to progress and move in life. And what am I doing next? I never want to be stagnant. So this is a place where you can grow. We can keep pushing here. Obviously we can talk about taxation as well. And then the fourth pillar is going to be the last pillar, hopefully, when everything, picks up here too, because we had a transitional year. We're going to open up that fourth pillar, and that's raising capital from up north, like from Canada, like a lot of our real estate investors and people that want to move money into the United States, because we're seeing a big flow of cash. If you haven't noticed, there's the highest migration out of Canada since the birth of the country. So right now there's a lot of money moving out of Canada. So we're on the end of that, where people can't move, but they want to get money out into security. So what we're doing is we're going to create a REIT, basically, where we raise capital. We'll buy the land or buy like multi-purpose units or multi-unit units, maybe flip, turn them over and stuff like that. Even with land, like repurpose it, get it ready for development, and flip it off to a land developer, like someone that's actually going to build it. So it'd be, the four pillars of real estate, clearly. So
very cool.
We're very busy. And then we're raising a family. We got a daughter that's a competitive dancer at a very high level, kicking ass here, like amazing, like so proud of her just to come.
So good. How old is she?
She'll be a sophomore next year, so she'll be in grade 9. No, sophomore. What is that? A freshman, rather. So, if you look at it, she left. I got to be really proud of her. She left at 10 years old. We left about 3 years ago. Left her high level competitive dance. Left her family, her friends, everybody. She came out here. And, it's a job for us as a parent to kind of push them. And then she felt defeated, and she's like, I'm not going to dance anymore. I'm fine with it. It's almost like she gave up. And I used the old Italian charm. I'm like, I'll drag you there by your hair. You know what I mean? You're going to go there. You're going to dance.
Very charming.
Yeah, very charming, right? But very to the point. I said, you're gonna dance. You got to go out there. If you get butterflies in your stomach, like you still feel it, then dance. If you don't, then don't do it. So we brought her there, and then ultimately she fell in love with it again. Clearly, she's got a really good group of girls now, and she's competing very like every competition she comes in. If there's 180 to 200 registered, she's usually top 1 or 2, right? So she's
wow. Congratulations to you, man. That's huge. Listen, and I want to cover all that, because I think that opens up such a can of worms of different questions that I've got. And that for sure people tuned in are listening to, and they've got, because when it comes to taxation, it comes to children, it comes to the move, it comes to like getting the money down there. There's so many questions, so let's just get into that. Like, what, I guess I want to find out what actually led you to pack up and make that move. So if we go back a few years, I guess there's the simple one, right? What led you to that decision to leave Canada and move to Florida? Like what brought you there?
What's our goal as parents? David, I think you got to bring it back to that, because everyone just looks at sunshine and making money. Our goal as parents is to better the next generation. If you want to get some real emotion behind it. Yep. So my goal as a father and my wife as a mother is to give our kids a better life than what we had. I mean, that's the goal. My parents immigrated to Canada in 1968 from Italy. They didn't leave Italy for Canadian culture, food, nor weather. I mean, that's all left in Italy. They went to Canada for economics. So when economics is leaving, I mean, I'm going to simplify. When economics is not there, I don't see the future. So I saw this in 2015, to be honest. I called this. I said Canada will become a big Montreal, which is basically based off a European state, which we're currently at right now and going down. So this is what we looked at. I mean, Florida's attractive, the weather, the culture, I mean, the atmosphere, it's beautiful, but also it gives them a good head start. Like right now we live in Estero, Florida, which is adjacent to Naples. It's basically living in Canada in the 80s. It's safe, secure. Everyone says hi, respectful. They don't even swear. Like it's like we're not used to. I have to like clean up my act down here, and I'm a pretty decent guy. And so we like it down here. It's like living in Canada in the 80s, right? Everyone goes to church on Sunday. Everyone has some sort of foundation with family. It's a different spot. I think in Toronto, we saw a lot of that leaving, even with our own family and cousins and whatever.
It's non-existent. It's non-existent. I mean, you might find it when you go and have that family dinner that there's culture. The minute you step outside, you could say it's incredibly multicultural, that we've completely lost an identity as to what it means to be Canadian and what this place looks like. And when you go outside, it is not safe any longer, and everybody's doing their own thing, and nobody has, much respect or care for, thy neighbor. And I don't mean necessarily our next door neighbors, but I mean just driving on the street and the way people drive with each other and talk to each other and walk through a mall together, or hold the door, don't hold the door, smile or don't smile. Like you said, people say hi to each other. There's some, some major changes that have been taking place over these past number of years, and I believe that they've become very amplified. Now, for your side, when I was going to say, like, is this more of a business opportunity, a lifestyle decision? It sounds like very lifestyle, but maybe a mix of both.
No, it's for the kids.
Okay.
So ultimately, like, it's obviously there's beneficials to be in the United States. Clearly, as much as some people don't want to, you hear it and they kind of roll their eyes. It's the most powerful country in the world. Let's face it, and the biggest opportunities are here. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you make it, you always go to the States at some point. It's like playing OHL hockey than NHL. It's always a different spot. Right now, we have in the state of Florida, we're 24 million people, which I believe we're the second or third. I think we're the third most populous state in all of America. We actually surpassed New York. Imagine that. New York as a whole, we passed them in GDP per capita and also GDP growth and money and everything, and then ultimately in population. So we've surpassed New York. So there's going to be a bright future here. And what we like also, when I said as a businessman, also as a father, is number one, my kids can get into college, like they call university college down here. So they're in college. Let's just say if my son wants to be an engineer, he's got 50 states to choose from that are equally as good as the next. You know what I mean? Some different in politics or whatever, but there's opportunities in every state. Which is, if you look at Europe, it's basically, those are all different countries, but it's Europe, right? In America, it's the same thing. It's one nation, but ultimately they're all different countries, but it's united. So it's the same currency, same rules, same federal government. So my kids can get a job in Pennsylvania building bridges if he was an engineer. Nico or Selena wants to dance in New York, whatever she wants to do. And here the travel is, I can be in New York for $150 in an hour and a half.
Are you a citizen down there now?
We're working towards it. Clearly, yeah. It's not as easy. It's not easy, but it's doable and it's worth it at the end.
Okay.
But
so there was no specific breaking point for you, but you saw the writing on the wall when it came to the economics. What was that?
Breaking point was Feb of 22, to be honest. We were locked down already for 2 years. We saw just the fabric of Canada just disintegrate in front of our eyes, to be honest.
And it keeps happening, man. It just keeps getting worse.
And we saw like a lot of, if you're following the Parliament and the bills that are getting passed, I'm like, I don't know how everyone's more worried about the Leaf game.
Are you kidding me? When everybody went and re-voted for this shit.
What I'm saying. So I don't get it. And then we kind of looked at it. I'm like, me and my wife, we had like a 7-day process. We sat in the bed. There's our mattress conversations, our mastermind between husband and wife, and a TV, like a YouTube, so we can kind of, picture where we want to go. But it was like 7 days. I'm like, and I remember, think about
family.
This.
Heritage, like, especially, let's say, and my wife Italian, like you're Italian, like I understand the culture. It's very together.
It's very together. Hard.
How did you just pick up and leave mom and dad even?
Well, again, it's what are we doing for our kids in the next generation, because they left their parents as well for their kids and their generation. So at the end, this is what my parents were cool. My wife's parents were cool as well. They understood what we're doing. We're not going down here for the sunshine and the ocean. I think people get confused with that. This is to give the next generation a better opportunity.
Whoa. Wait a second. There's no sunshine and ocean?
It's here.
Seriously though, Steve, talk sunshine and ocean. People love this idea of moving to Florida as opposed to like somewhere, in the middle of the U.S. And no offense to anywhere in the middle of the U.S. There's some very beautiful places, but the point is like that sunshine and that ocean. But most have no clue exactly where to start. What would you say once you two had that conversation in bed with YouTube or whatever, and you're trying to figure out where to go, and you finally make this decision, like, that's it, we're going to do this. What first few steps did you actually take to make it happen? Like, we think about legals, we think about financials, we think about logistics. What did that look like?
I think so. I'm very linear when I think. So I think in order. Thankfully, it was a gift. But it's like, clearly you got to figure out what you're going to do down here. So that's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to process? Like, you're going to come down on a visa, clearly. So what are you good at? Or what? The good thing is, look, if you sold in Canada, because the houses are a lot more expensive in Canada than here. Okay. So you sold, you have a lot of cash. Let's just say you cash out, you have $1 million in cash. You can rewrite your life here. So with $1 million in cash, you can buy a brand new townhouse. Let's just say you want to go like really, like the smallest version of, you can buy a brand new townhouse here for $250,000 in a gated community.
Wow.
So you can pay that in cash, have an HOA, they cut your grass, the grass is watered, and you have a full amenity center for $260,000. So
but that's USD.
Yeah. So let's say 330K Canadian, like something around there. It's
what
40.
if you want to get into a 4-bedroom home?
Depending location, I can get you. We just sold a Canadian a 5-bedroom home in North Fort Myers, which is not like Estero, Naples. It's a little bit north. It's like Alliston for like Florida. Let's just say like nice, great community, but the income per capita is going to be lower clearly. But I mean, it's like great, safe, the whole thing. 5-bedroom for $260,000, detached garage at 2,800 square feet. So
wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Let's say let's just say you got a townhouse in an area more like around, like for us, you can get into a villa, which they call like a semi in my community, is for like $350, $380 US. Okay. But I mean, ultimately you bought that and now you can focus on who you want to be. You can rewrite your life. So if you come in at 40 years old, obviously you have, a career, or you've grown mentally, you have some sort of growth. You can come here and just write your book from scratch, and you can do it at your pace. Like we find like up north, even I was down there for Victoria Long Weekend because I'm promoting both businesses at the Nobleton Fair. And you can just sense the anxiety in the air, the unknown. Here we have a clear picture. There's sunshine here, and not just because we're in Florida, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. As much as people don't agree with the administration, some people don't. A lot of people do. If you got to really read between the lines with media.
Yep.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. They're creating millions of jobs down here. And that's not for the elite. Well, we're used to politics where they always cater to the elite. This is the first time I've ever seen in history where they're actually like, no, let's bring back manufacturing. So, these neighborhoods that were terrorized without no more jobs that literally fell into disarray. You're bringing those jobs back. These are going to be high-paying middle-class jobs that are going to bring society back to these communities. And what are they going to do with that money? They're going to buy in Florida because they're cold in Michigan, right? So
right.
Just look at the future, right? It's very nice. It's nice.
Okay, so here, talking to that, then what did you get wrong, or what did you underestimate at the start that you wish you knew before making the move?
There is nothing, honestly. I picked the right side. I picked the right community. I picked the right businesses that I'm, that I love doing, real estate and building and, dealing with clients. So that's all good. Kids are in a great school. They're in a charter school, which is basically private school without paying for it. Wrap your mind around that.
Wow.
Pay private without paying. Okay. My wife's assimilated quite well with all the ladies at the dance school and the school, so I don't know. I think the only thing, sorry, there is one thing. Is the taxation.
I was about to go there, like in terms of surprises to adjusting the system. I'll bring up taxation. I'll bring up real estate. Well, real estate prices you just talked to. Let's talk schooling. You mentioned about the private school, healthcare, banking.
I'll go through them all.
Yeah.
So the one thing you got to, and I don't regret it because I went and did the right steps. Again, we built a plan out. If you ever have a Trello board, it's a great process how to process anything in life. We do that for everything, all our businesses and even our life. But anyway, so the problem is the accounting firms. We've hired 2 big accounting firms and they both quit on us. So like $30,000 of nothing. Like it's like criminal. I don't even know. There was nothing to show for it, And now we have another company now, and it's like we're at the tail end, but taking way so long, like 6 months overdue. Like this is nonsense. So that's the only thing. If find yourself a really good accounting firm, someone, I don't know if it's going to be like somebody that's going to cater to you, pay them up front. I don't know what it has to be, but that's the only.
Is this to figure out how to get your money from Canada into the United States?
No, because look, we had a lot of investments. We sold a shitload of investments in 22. We just didn't sell our primary residence and we moved. We came from a career where I was making, $700,000-$800,000 a year in commission. So it's not like I left like nothing. And then also we had about $8 million in real estate. Like we woke up 7 days after this initial start and just like I'm going to risk my career a bit. The year that I planned for this, a year before we left, was the first year in my entire life I was not worried about money. Imagine that. You worked your whole life. And I've worked 2-3 jobs my entire life. I got to be honest, since I was a kid, just to get to a point where I was like, I can actually take 2 days off during the week and go
not
for
worry.
it.
And not
worry about
Yep.
the attendance. You know what I mean? That was the first time in my career. And it's like I finally made it. Like, and now it's like,
and then you decided to move.
And now I just put myself into chaos because now
Holy
we're on the aggressive part. Before we were good on the defense and the whole thing, but now it's like we have to build businesses, so there's a lot of capital out invested. But that's it. I think it's not so. So if you're going to get the taxation, it's more so we had a lot of properties that we had to liquidate and a whole bunch of stuff of that. So and multiple corporations, layers of corporations, a little complex, but we're small. We're nothing big.
Yeah,
so that confuses the shit out of people in these accounting firms. But if you're selling your primary residence and maybe an investment property or not, it's going to be very easy. You won't even pay any egress tax on your primary residence because it's primary. You only pay the egress on on assets rather.
Okay, so sticking to that for a second, if you do have a corporation up here, you're saying that makes it more difficult to move it down there?
You got to be careful because of double taxation as well. Again, I'm not a licensed
right.
An accountant, but per se, but I can talk to you on a level, but don't take advice. Always check in.
Yeah, no, of course.
You got to be careful because like an Ontario incorporated and then an LLC down this way, you got to be careful because you're going to have to, if you're going to move to the States, you're going to have to claim yourself as a tax citizen of which country now? Out of the country for 6 months, you're a United States tax citizen. So now you got to be careful how this interacts going back and forth, especially if Canada's making all the money, which is clearly right now in our situation because we're on the offense here. So there's ways around it. We're doing our webinar again. I got to message Jen actually, and we're gonna have the accountants on. So the guy that structured my LLCs and GPs and LPs, because here's like a whole different structures, is how we coordinated it. Because I have it on my board. It's such a beautiful, it looks like a piece of art to me. It's like, it says Canadian individual, 100% shareholder of Zalunardo Holdings LLC. And then it goes 1% general partner to Treviso Capital Limited. And then 99% limited partner from Canadian individual into Treviso Capital. And then we break off into little parts where it's like 100% shareholder into little, they call them containers. So these containers is where we stick all our investment properties in. So if one container fails, guess what? It doesn't affect the other containers.
Yeah,
so it's a beautiful, like very elaborate system. It's gorgeous. It's a piece of art, to be honest.
What about, how have you found about the healthcare situation?
Yeah, healthcare was, obviously it's worrisome because we're always used to like just walking into a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have a family of 4 clearly, and we're paying $1,000 a month just for a family of 4, and we got full benefits and everything. I think if we wanted dental and eye, it was an additional $400, which we don't need. We do dental in Canada, and we come back, we do a cleaning. We have a Nobleton. We have a great friend that owns a practice there, so we just do everything there. Yes, pretty much $1,000 a month, and that's what it is. But remember, we don't pay any state income tax. So
I was about to say, so even though you're paying $1,000 a month, you still have more money in your pocket regardless.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you definitely do. You're just paying federal tax and no state income tax.
Right.
Now, even with the property taxes, right now we have a little bit of a problem with property tax. They're quite high here, similar to Toronto around. But ultimately, they're trying to find a way to kind of subtract it. The Governor DeSantis wants to eradicate it, which it's not going to pass that. But if they can take it down 20, 30 points or how they assess the property rather and a lower rate, how we do it up north. I remember my house in Nobleton was assessed at $2.4 million, and we were paying taxes on like $800,000 or $900,000. So it was like, let's say $9,000 a year in taxes. But if it was assessed at that 2.4 range, it'd be like 30 grand, right?
Of course,
yeah.
A lot more. So, okay. So some differences there. Healthcare, we talked to schooling. You've briefly mentioned some great schools, taxes. Are you finding the opportunity is greater being down there just in terms of dollars and the ability to make money? Do you see a big difference, or is it, hey, you still got to get up, work hard, and naturally you do. But do you find that things might come a little, I dare I use the word easy?
Listen, you gotta work. It's a working country, and this is why it is the number 1 country in the world. It's no doubt. You got to get up and work, and the people that don't do anything. So it's like Toronto's the same thing. We had so many people around us that I would be cold calling 2-3 hours a day when I was a real estate agent. When I'm still a real estate agent, when I was actively like prospecting. And you know that's how I propelled against my competition or the people in our office, our colleagues.
Of course.
So that's the same thing with here. What are you doing with your time? But what I found is like I feel like wind in my sail, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
it totally does.
A push rather than being like forced going through a gale of wind like I felt in Toronto.
Yep.
Every time we did some sort of an investment, I was treated like a criminal, like in the
Yeah.
sense that the mortgage agent, how many rental properties do you have? Oh, the lawyer, you can't do this. It was always like friction. Here is like, no, you're going to stick it in this company, you're going to move it there, and this is how you don't pay tax. It's like also even for investment's sake, look how beautiful this is. Like, I mean, how do you build a proper country? You give people opportunity to do more with it. People want to work, you know. So let's look at investment property. So let's just say, for example, mom and pop buys, like a small time investor buys a single family dwelling, a townhouse, let's say for $260,000. Okay, great. He holds that for 5 to 10 years, is worth double the money. He's got a ton of capital in it, like a capital earned, like an equity rather. He can move that 100% capital out with no taxation, as long as he moves it into a property that's similar or in like a higher equivalency rather. So let's say that's a townhouse into a single family dwelling, and then he holds on to that dwelling. That dwelling, he moves that money into like a block of townhouses. So then you pay zero. It's called a 1031 switch, where ultimately you can move all capital 100% unaffected and pay no gains on them right into the next property. So this is how you're going to build growth, and that's why you see the multitude of people that own doors here, like they say doors.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I get it.
200 doors. I just got off another podcast. The guy has 400 doors. Like how? I can't even wrap my mind around it. But now knowing the system and the opportunities, because I don't have to do it in my backyard. I can go to the Carolinas. I can go up to Ohio. I can do whatever I want. I'm in the country where I can move around. Yeah. So did you winning the sales? Let's just say
I like that. So you know, as you look at that, where there's some big sacrifices outside of leaving family, you know, that even your family had to accept. I mean, the kids moving away from friends, moving away from, you know, again, family members, established lifestyle. I mean, what was that like? Because I think that, you know, I think on a very personal level, if I'm looking to make a move, I'm thinking family, siblings, loved ones, you know, friends, I don't know, where I get my hair cut. Like, that's a joke, but you know what I mean? Like little stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult.
Or big stuff, I guess. Never mind.
Yeah. It's comfort level, right? It's also, that's a little bit of complacency as well when you feel like you're tied.
Fair.
So yeah, I think so. I think you can't get attached to bricks and mortar, things that you own for sure, because that's definitely just an easy excuse. And then, I mean, friends and family members, they visit you more out here than they did in Toronto.
Sure, man. They want to be there. I was going to say, like, talk to me about the lifestyle out there, you know, when you talk about day-to-day life versus being back here in Toronto.
Well, let me just backtrack on that. But so even when we lived, you know, like let's say in Nobleton, not too many family members would come out and visit, or friends. It was always special occasion stuff like that. So the visiting slowed down. But after we moved out to Florida, you're getting people that actually want to spend time with you. And when you spend time back in Canada, it's more quality time rather than if you're forced to be in an area for a certain amount of time. So anyway, and then at the same time, you're out here, you simulate. So you got to remember, Florida, when we picked it why we picked this over Texas, to be honest, is because there is no real Floridian. I mean, there's very rare. Everyone's an expat or from a different state. So on my street, there's 11 houses. Everyone's a different state. You know, for every house is a different state. So everyone speaks different or has a different accent. So you can't, like if we went to Texas, they would know where you're from. You know, you're Canadian, right? Or something like that. Like they don't know. I sound like a Midwesterner type accent, either Chicago or like Minnesota, around that because you know the way they pronounce certain words. But at the end, it's nice to be sort of like flying under the radar, so we can kind of focus on what we're doing. And then obviously we want to penetrate the American market. I don't want to be known as the Canadian or anything like that. I just want to be known as the guy that gets the job done.
Yeah,
you know? And that's where I don't want to be singled out for anything. So it's very easy to do that here in Florida based on the multiple states that live in these areas.
Which is real nice. So you've got some opportunity out there. It sounds like, obviously in a big way, and naturally getting up again around the palm trees and the ocean on a daily basis, probably from a mindset perspective, is super helpful as well.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
By far. It's again, I like, you know, I have some sports cars and stuff like that. So I'm a huge car fanatic. So, I mean, when you get to wake up on a Friday and you're like, doesn't matter if it's in December, January, February, you can jump in your convertible or jump in your 911, just you blast it to work. You're going to work. You're doing your job. But how you got there, you see the sunshine, the music. It's different.
It changes things, eh?
1,000%. I think calming. I'm in the best physical shape of my entire life right now. It's true.
Beautiful, man. So good. What communities? I think you and I very briefly off air before we got on the show, we're talking about that. But what communities in Florida would you recommend to Canadians who are looking to relocate, especially families with young kids? Like, where would you suggest that they go?
The East Coast is going to be busy, right? It's more of a metropolis. South Florida, which is Miami, again, it's different. It's got a culture. That's very Hispanic as well, just to say that. Beautiful, but very Hispanic. I think, to be honest, we looked at it. Some people say Tampa, Orlando, St. Pete, those areas, or Sarasota. I like our area. I got to be honest. I think, number one, weather-wise, we're in subtropic territory here, so we have the warmest weather in the winter. You got to remember, if you're in Sarasota, Orlando, or Tampa, let's say we talk about the West Coast, you're 14 degrees Fahrenheit difference in the winter, which is 7 degrees Celsius. So if you look at let's just say in the winter, we get into let's say high 40s in the morning. You're in the 30s, and 30s is basically 0 degrees. So it's pretty painful if you're out that way. Also, for what we like to is it's a small community. We're 1.2 million people. Number one, Lee County and Collier County is where we are right now, is number one and number three safest places to live in America. So just put that in.
Where'd you say they were?
Number one and number three safest places to live in America.
What's it called?
Lee County, which is Fort Myers, Estero Bonita, and then Collier, which is Naples. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So, okay, here, what about when we talk about safety for weather, hurricanes, all that stuff?
Yeah, look, if you look at the history of the weather patterns, they say it's the West Coast that hits more. It's the East. Because remember, the Atlantic, and I'll go through this a little bit more, but the Atlantic has no barrier. So number one, the oceans are always rocky. They're cool. They're unusable in the winter. Forget about it. Undertow and a bunch of stuff, and you got brown sand, like Wasaga Beach. So when a storm comes in from the East Coast, there's no barrier to break it. It's just coming right at you. The West Coast, we have barriers. We have Cuba that blocks us. We have a little bit Mexico, and we're in the Gulf of America now. They renamed it. But it's in this nice little area. And then you look at the storms. We had 49 storms per side, so they're equal. We had one more major storm, 17 on the West Coast and 16 on the East Coast. And this is just basically the last, since I moved down here, let's just say the last 3 years, we had one major, which was Ian, and then Milton, they all went up to Tampa and Sarasota, so we didn't get affected by those. But those are the storms that kind of put us on top of the East Coast. But at the same time, when the East Coast gets hit, there's no barrier. And you kind of see the flash flooding in Fort Lauderdale Airport. That's just rainfall flooded the whole thing. We don't get that here. We got proper drainage systems. It's nicer, right? For that. So for storm rise, remember the communities that we sell, I wouldn't sell them if I wouldn't buy them myself. So where we're located now, it's 17 linear miles from the ocean. So we're in a spot where number one, we're 8 meters above sea level, which is 24 feet, which is Mount Everest for Florida. If you know, Florida is very flat. So we're in a good elevation site. The areas are engineered brilliantly to get rid of water real quickly, because they have all these man-made lakes that kind of interconnected with lakes. So was one fills, it'll start filling up the next one and ongoing, and then it'll run it off into a drain area. And also the windstorms, obviously the hurricanes bring in 140 to 160 mile per hour winds, which are insane. And if you kind of put them into it's 240 to 230 to 260 kilometers an hour winds. Wow. The houses, I got an engineering background. If you see these houses built, and again, I come from construction, so I can understand these at a very high level. They're basically building bomb shelters, wow. I would be more terrified to be in Canada to have one of those flash tornadoes that they had in Angus and wiped out a whole community. Because those houses, remember, in Canada, the brick is a facade. It's got no structural integrity to it, basically stapled to the wood. So here it's we're made out of concrete block, but we have rebar that's tied into the slab on grade, which because that's no basements out this way. Structurally tied to the foundation through the concrete block, and then the rebar, which is 3/4 of an inch, gets tied to the roof. And so there's never going to be any lift with the roof. It's not going to get torn off. Plus, in my community too, we also have like concrete roof tiles. It looks like slate, right? So it's like a nice.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the West Coast is the best coast.
Absolutely.
All right, here, just before we dive into what this really means for Canadians thinking about making the move, let me take a quick second to thank our sponsors. First off, this episode of the Mindshare Podcast is brought to you by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, your ultimate marketing and lead generation CRM, REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's trusted voice for industry news, and Revel Realty, where bold marketing meets top-tier training. Now, while you're listening to this, I want to encourage everybody, head over to mindshare101.com, grab your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle. And if you're ready to grow your business with coaching, group training, or want to bring momentum training to your office, we do have you covered. Okay, let's jump back in. We've now talked about the process. Let's get into what people really need to watch out for, Steve. There's a lot of buzz around, again, this idea of Canadians wanting out. What would be your message to anybody who says to you, I'd move tomorrow if I could?
What do you mean? Like, should they do it or not?
Yeah. Like I would do it if I could, Steve. What do you say to people?
Well, anybody can. I think, listen, it's not for everybody. Not a lot of people. If you got to be mentally strong, like some of the points that you touched on regarding not being around family for help, not being around your regular friends. Like if that's going to bother you, you're going to have trouble here because you're going to meet I have a lot of great friends now. All my friends are all American. There's a lot of Canadians that moved down as well. So we hang with everybody, but it's not for everybody. Clearly it's not going to be for everybody, but at the same time, what are you doing for your children at the same point, right? Are you going to muscle up for them to give them a better future? I think that's how you got to look at it and have that keep them a strong mindset. It's like, am I gonna do this for my kids? Like, am I gonna?
You are 1,000,000% convinced that this is better for your children than being up here.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about some common misconceptions that Canadians might have about moving to the U.S. or living in Florida? Like maybe some things you thought about or you've heard from people. They're like, oh yeah, this, and then it's like either you got down there and realized it wasn't this, or people have come down and said, oh my God, here's what I thought, but here's what the reality is. Is there anything there that stands out when I say that?
There's one Canadian family that weren't my clients because they moved down prior to me. They came down here and thought they were going to be on vacation for the rest of their lives. They came down, they moved preparation was bad. They didn't even have a visa in place. They moved their whole house. They moved cars down. They bought a house and they went to restaurants every day and by the beach. 6 months later, you got to leave the country. So now they planned and they have no visa attached to it. So they went back to Canada and then they couldn't get a visa at that point because they've spent all their money on nonsense. So they had to sell everything and move back. But that's a failure for planning. If you're going to do a linear, obviously it's like, number one, how am I going to make money to support everything? Once I figure that out, then I can kind of base everything around that. So as long as you're going in very logically, you don't got to be a scientist to figure this out, like an inventor of an iPhone. It's literally just linear. How am I going to make money to support my lifestyle? And maybe I should just tone it down, maybe 2 grades until I get used to. That's what we did. We basically toned it down just to kind of figure out like just the lay of the land. Is there any surprise expenses going forward? Again, you just got to be conservative with some of this stuff, right? But other than that, no, like everything else is good. It's exactly what I envisioned because my goal in 2013 was to move down here for 6 months out of the year because of the weather. I could never adapt to Canadian weather. I got to be honest. So it was like 6 months in Florida or 4 months in Florida during the cool seasons and then the rest of the time back in Canada. So it's paradise. Nothing gets old here. The beauty, the cleanliness, the roads are maintained. There's no chewing gum on the floor. There's no cigarette butts. It's like it's literally a simulation of beauty. Every day. It's just incredibly gorgeous.
Which sounds amazing. And I mean, we keep coming back to this thing about children. That was your real driving force. What would you say really makes it better for the children?
I think for the children themselves, number one, they feel like they're part of something bigger than them. I'll talk on a few points of this too.
What do you mean by that?
So number one, like culturally, the Americans are very patriotic, right? So my son, and I'll give you an example. Again, we're born and raised in Canada. I barely know the national anthem. It wasn't something. I remember we used to do it as a kid, and then they wiped it out at some point. We didn't do the national anthem. It was just weird, right? Here, it's mandatory, hand over your heart. So I bring my son to mandatory. Everyone does it. Just wake up, you do it, So literally, I bring my kid to I give him Nico, my son. He's like 8. You bring him to a hockey game this year, and I'm not aware of what happens every day at school. My wife's more in depth with that. But the national anthem came on. He's got his hand over his chest and his hand behind his back. It was beautiful. So he's got something that's bigger than him. Religion, again, I was spiritual, if that's a word. I've always believed in something higher than myself, honestly. But coming down here, we're Catholics, so Christianity is celebrated in a sense that every religion is, to be honest, doesn't matter what you are, but ultimately it's respected. So my kids are pushing me to go to church now. And I'm like, I'm not going to say no. I'd be an asshole if I did. I'm like, okay, we'll go to church every Sunday now. Let's go to, and it's painful for me a little bit, but I mean, I'm doing it for them to, it's like, that's great. They got foundation. So they got patriotism and they also got religion. They got foundation that they didn't have in the past. The kids are all the same like that. They help each other out. It's a different way of Canada in the 80s. That's just what it is.
Yeah, no, you were saying that before. Yeah. So are there things that are there things that people absolutely must have in order before considering a move like this? Like you mentioned about, talk to an accountant. You mentioned about have a plan for how to make money. I mean, it sounds very logical, right? Like if I'm not going to be able to make money, why would I up and move my world and go down there?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to say that that's number one before you do anything, especially as a, somebody who's running a household, to just sit there and say, yeah, we're going to make a move because it seems like, sunshine and beaches and sand and all palm trees and all that. It sounds beautiful, but there's realities to, dollars and cents and what makes the world go round. Like, what would you say people must absolutely have in order before they make a move like this?
I think it's just number one, mentally prepared. I think you got to be mentally prepared prior. You know what you're giving up and knowing what you're going into an unknown. I think mental preparation is going to be your biggest thing.
I was just going to ask you about mindset on that. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
You need the mental preparation prior, and the next thing is just your visa and what you're going to do. That's it.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Is it hard to get a visa? Or is it, how easy is it to get a visa?
It's not difficult. You can get a visa quite easily, right? But it depends what you want to do. Like some remember what you do for your what you apply for your visa is what you have to do in the country. So you can't like come in and buy a power washing company and then you're selling real estate. It's not going to work, right?
Right.
So ultimately, yeah. So you gotta come in on your visa, but you can do anything. You could, like, so we have friends that are opening up the tech companies. I opened up real estate. I got another guy that came down working for a company. If you can work for a company, it's going to be the easiest, clearly, because they're looking for like highly skilled people in different trades. I got another one opened up a landscaping yard, rather, with dump trucks and all that. You pick up your mulch and all that. So they're coming in different multitudes. So another one on construction, painting. Another one came down an electrician, big guy, good friend of mine too, lived a few doors down to me in Nobleton. So he came down as an electrical contractor as well. And you know what? Just for example, look at his growth. He's got a big business, 30, 40 employees up in Canada. It came down here and worked for one of the largest builders in America and roughed in over 200 houses, like for electric. Like that's huge. That's like, anyway, so that's pretty much it. Your visas will come in easy. You just got to plan for how you want to stay in the country. That's the obviously the end goal is to green card, then citizenship, right? So,
right. And then what paves the path for that? Is that revenue? Is that income? Is that paying taxes? What how does it take? I mean, if we say we're going to go get a visa, so you apply to get a visa, how long does that visa take?
Your visa, like, let's say you came in Kits South, Kits Pack South. You're going to probably come on let's say you did. I'll just make it easy because the L1A is probably what you would have come in on. Again, I'm not an immigration lawyer.
Yeah.
I've been talking about this for 3 years now. So like an E2, let's say you came in on an E2 investment visa and you're building out, Kits South. That's all you're basically. You're going to invest about $100,000, $80,000 to $100,000 US dollars. You're going to have two salaried employees. So that basically gets you in the door. So however you spend that $100,000. Yeah. Well, you got to file clearly. So you're gonna contact an immigration lawyer. talk to the immigration lawyer. You're going to build your business. You're going to have a business plan ready clearly. So when you do the submission into the U.S. consulate, that they can review everything. So how much money you spent, where you're going to be located. They want to see pictures of your office clearly, the salary employees that you have on staff, and then that's pretty much it. Then it'll take like 3 months to get it to the submission portion. Then it'll take probably another 3 months to get reviewed. And then once it gets reviewed, you're good to go. But what we did too, but even before our visa was approved, we came down regardless, because we submitted in May of 22. And then we officially unplugged middle of October. There's probably Thanksgiving weekend. We drove down straight.
The same year.
22, yeah. So
you just drove down. What'd you do? You rented a condo? You had an apartment? You bought a house?
No, we had a few properties already. I bought one not knowing I was moving to Florida. Like like literally 14 days we planned on. 14 or 15 days before we made a decision to move down here, I bought a house just for investment's sake. It was like God's plan, right? It was like the connecting the dots. So by the time we got down here, the house was already complete. So we just moved in there. I had it furnished prior to us getting down. So we just kind of slipped right into that. And then we bought another house in July of 22. And we just waited in the Fort Myers house until the Estero house was built, like our house we live in now. So, yeah.
Very interesting.
That's pretty much it. You come down an E2 and that's it. Then what you're going to do is you're to get green card after, you got to create, you could do one of two ways. One people do like an EB5 regional, which is basically an $800,000 or $850,000 investment into, and it's basically like a REIT. They're using this money to build in like undeveloped parts of the US and then automatically get a green card after that in like 1 to 3 years. Let's just say that. So that's one way. It's an easy way if you got the cash. And then also, like if you're going to do an EB5, like a normal one, it's like building your business. Let's say Kits gets up to, it's popping. You got 340 million people. You can do whatever you want out here. You need 10 employees. So if you have 10 salaried employees, minimum 32 hours each, you're good to go. And $1.05 million invested. So you could have invested that into whatever you want, right? Like whatever you invest in your business,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can be part of your commercial building, whatever it is going forward, the prints, the press, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So that would be another route to do as well. Yeah.
Interesting. And I mean, from a personality perspective, when we talk about that, same thing when I said absolutely must have, we talked about mindset, and it's that strength to persevere and really grow and do, as opposed to be complacent and lackadaisical to the fact that you are at the beach. No, you are starting a new life. And there's a lot of, work that goes into really making that happen.
You know what?
Yeah.
To be honest, it's exciting.
There's got to be a sense of excitement around it for sure, but naturally there's a sense of fear too, right?
It's wild. It's an adrenaline rush for sure. And just remember this: like we're not at the beach every weekend or every day, but the reality is like this Saturday, like. We worked hard. Let's go to the beach. We'll go watch the sunset. It's 30 minutes from my house. And it's like calm driving, like 60-kilometer-an-hour drives, like just little side streets. You get to the beach, you set up, you watch the sunset go down, you take pictures, you jump in the water. The water is warm as hell right now. It's like you get to work hard, but you also get like unwind like you never could before. Let's say up north, you worked hard, and you went home with that anxiety. You couldn't kick that anxiety. Even if I'd work out like crazy, I would cycle, I would run. I couldn't burn that anxiety out of me. So
are you saying that's just environment?
Yeah.
Or is that like the economic state of everything?
Oh, I think that's environment. This is when we talk about health. Like, I mean, I could never burn the anxiety out. And then here it's like, I can go for a run, I burn it out. I can go to the beach, I burn it out. I go for a drive, I burn it out. I can burn anxiety so quick here. It's literally, it's always like easy to discard. And we're under a lot of pressure clearly because we're running multiple businesses both sides of the border. Most I've ever been. I never wanted to have a complicated life like this. It wasn't the plan. The plan was to retire, 50, 55, have my assets kind of pay me to kind of live. That was the whole goal. We were on track, but it is what it is.
Yeah. No, so here. So what's the one thing you would have told yourself before moving, knowing what you know right now?
I think it's just the accounting.
The accounting, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no. Other than that, I wouldn't have brought my furniture down. I think that was a waste of time and money. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
that was dumb. Yeah. We had them in storage. We had nice like dining room sets. Who cares? Like, buy everything fresh. And that's it. Should have just sold them off in Toronto and be done with it. Yeah. I think that's it. If you're going to move down here, don't bring your furniture. Just sell everything at a cents on the dollars. And then, unless it's important stuff, but I mean, ultimately, yeah, not worth. Start fresh. Yeah.
Do you ever regret leaving Canada, or maybe on the flip side, do you wish you had made the move sooner?
I think the timing was perfect, so I don't think I would have done it sooner. Do I regret leaving? No. I can't come back. It's very difficult even to travel back now.
Why is that?
I think it's just, I don't know, man. When you're out here, you got to experience it. It's just a different sense of living. It's a feeling, and it's not me. Like, we were with my wife's friends over the weekend. They were from Boston originally, from Massachusetts, and they've been down here for 20 odd years. They only travel up north. They're like, we got like 4 days, and then that's it. I got to get back to Florida. So it's not just me and whatever's happening in Canada, the politics and all that, or the economic failure, let's call it. It's just a feeling you get. Like, you feel at ease here all day. Yeah.
Interesting. And you got adjusted to the food and the culture and.
Yeah, I mean, the culture is basically, we are Americans as Canadians. Yeah. We watch all their sitcoms. We watch all American movies. We listen to all American music. We watch all American sports. Realistically, we are a sub country of America.
How do you get the Jays game or the Leafs game down there?
I don't watch them.
Okay. So, dude, what's next? You were saying about the 4 pillars. What's next for you out there in life and business?
Yeah.
Future wise. Now that you're there, kids are established or working to build a life. You're down there, doing what you do.
I think the next steps obviously is I want my home building company to get, because that's always been my life goal, is to get my home building company up to a point. Like, the goal is always like 60 houses a year. Like, that's where I want to be. I want to have that a point where I can just, hand something off to the kids. I want to build something where I can give that, even if maybe they don't want it. Maybe I'm just.
Is that down there or up here?
In America, yeah.
In America, interesting. Yeah. Are you building houses down there now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody right now that's listening who is stuck, who's frustrated, who is on that precipice of wondering, is there a better life for me somewhere else?
What advice I would give them?
Yeah.
I think, listen, I think we get stuck in our own little ruts in our brains where we think that we are like, stationed in life. We grew up in Mississauga. I got to live in Mississauga. I grew up in Woodbridge. I got to stay. It's not the case. We're free. We can do whatever we want. The only thing we locks us down is our mental state, and then people around us. Because even for us moving, people thought we were nuts. Because this is way before now. Where are you going? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what have you done in your entire life? You've done nothing. Your life is so it's a good life. You live a great life, but you have no risk at all. You've never done anything more than what you've done now. So how can you even judge someone that's going to do something different? Because you don't really have the data to do that. So I wouldn't listen to anybody around you that hasn't done it themselves. I got lucky that when we lived in Bolton, we had our neighbors. They were Kiwis. They were from New Zealand originally. And this guy traveled, man. He was my dad's age. So he was probably 70, 75 this year. And I would sit there in awe. We would drink bourbon and I would just listen to his stories of his adventures. And he was in the UK. Then he went to Australia. Then he was doing guided tours in Africa. I was like, what didn't you do in your life? Then he went to Calgary. Then he moved to Alberta. Then he went to Saskatchewan. Then he lived in Bolton, raised his kids. And then he went back to Vancouver. And he's moving again. So I just love that sense of adventure, and that how many people he's touched my life. I go, they're still alive. They've done well.
Making that decision though, did your daughter not jump up at you as a speed bump, like you mentally, not her jumping up and physically doing it, but we're like, oh my God, her friends, her school, her dance, her life, picking up for me is just, I can jump on the motorcycle and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Picking up my family and my household and the businesses and everything else, that, whoa, man, I'm going to need a whole convoy. I'm going to need a train to bring with me.
Jen looks like she's ready to go with her questioning years.
Jen is totally ready to go. Jen was ready to go the day we met.
Jen's
I
gonna
take
show
you
up
back to our honeymoon right now on the beach in St. Lucia, and she wanted to go, like, move to some tropical island and open like a little tiki hut on the beach, and she'd be happy.
Jen was cool. I obviously went to high school with Jen. She was one of the cool.
She was cool. I don't know what happened. No, I'm joking. I love her.
Yeah, she was cool. She was really cool chick for sure.
She's the best. So, Steve,
absolutely.
what would you say to anybody who says to you, Steve?
Let me touch on that with the daughter.
Yeah. Sorry, go for it. Yes.
So listen, that's the only thing that bothered me was leaving my daughter, taking her out of her dance school. To be honest, taking her out because she was doing well. She had a good group of girls, and it was like her life. And that was, for me, that was the only hard part, not leaving family, friends, and everything else. But you know what? Thankfully, I did. That school pretty much fell apart. It's gone downhill. Okay. And now she's thriving with a whole new set of girls. So if I didn't make that move, she wouldn't have thrived as she is today at the level.
Right.
So we always look at things, like this is it. This is our little nest. We can't get anything outside. No, there's so much more to the world, right? So if I didn't make that move, she would have been stuck. Also, the schooling system, I'll touch on that quickly. My kids were always in private school, not because they were better than anyone else's kids. I just wanted them to have a better education than I did. You can ask Jen what a shithead I was in school. I wasn't a good kid in school. So I wanted them to be better than me, have more, more well-read, university, the whole thing, right? So I worked hard to put them into private schools. That was the whole point of this. So again, spending 10, 15K a kid per year. I get them out here to our chartered school. We had to get them tutors to get up to speed with just the chartered school because the education level was so lopsided, where Canada was actually really behind than, let's say, the U.S. And that was if you look at back in Canada, we always thought that the Americans had lesser school system than the Canadians. We always thought we were on the other side of that spectrum. No. We're on the opposite end of that. Because I noticed that now when my kids get back to Toronto, they're communicating with their old friends and stuff like that, or what they're learning in school, way different levels. So that's for the mothers.
Always helpful to give a tip for the mothers. What about if somebody said to you, just in general, Steve, what would you say to him when he says to you, like, I can't?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say you can. It's just if you want it. I mean, it depends on someone's life as well. If they never did anything that's risky, it's going to be tough for them to kind of jump out of that norm right now. But I mean, anybody can. It's not the country is very welcoming to immigrants, as much as we're hearing like legacy media saying that the Americans don't despise the Canadians. We have all Canadian alcohol on our shelves here. The Canadians are the hostile ones that removed the American alcohol. So I don't know. Like, they love rye whiskey here. I've never seen Canadian whiskey. Like, I don't drink it. I never drank it. And it's like they love it here. I mean, what I'm saying is that the country is very welcoming. The people are very welcoming. So if they wanted to make a shift for a positive life change, I would really suggest, I don't know the other parts of the U.S. I know my part. I'm going to speak highly on it. And I think we've struck a little piece of paradise.
That's very cool to hear, man. So speaking of paradise, you've gone up, you've gotten up in the day, you've done what you had to do, you've managed the businesses, gone out and worked hard, you've got your family, things are good, sun is shining. How do you know for you at the end of the day when you lay your head down that it's been a successful day for you?
Thankfully, with coaching, I've been in coaching my entire life, or my adult life, let's just say, in my career, and all. I've read over like 150 books in the last 10 years, thankfully. The good thing is you wake up in the morning, you do what you got to do, and however the day turns out, you did all your best that day, and you can lay your head nicely at night and go to bed. That's it. Before you being anxiety, I didn't do a deal, I didn't make any money. As long as you did your task, what you had to do in order to make your money, and it didn't turn out to making money, it's fine. You just wake up the next day, do it again. So thankfully, I've reprogrammed the way I think, to be honest, or program from birth to like always have failure in the back of your mind. No, we every day's a win. What I used to start my days off was like a pilot. So I'd have like a checklist. So I'd have more wins than losses. Okay. So a win would, like, the ultimate day was like signing a contract in real estate, but it was like woke up at 5:45 a.m. Bang, that's a check. Right?
See, 100%, man. I know everybody tuned in right now. They all hear me say the same thing all the time. It's got to be the small little wins.
Yeah.
Progress over results.
Write my scripts out. Role play my scripts. On the phone cold calling, lead follow-up, set appointments, and then that's it. If I did, those are like 10 to 15 wins in the morning. I won the day.
Yeah, I love that, man.
I'm a winner. And I think that's the way I look at it even down here. As long as I'm not screwing around, I'm not at the beach, I'm at the office, I'm making my calls, I'm setting up appointments, I'm doing my tasks.
Who are you calling? Who are you prospecting to? You got a farm area now? Like you built that up? You're calling your database. Your database is back home in Toronto. You're building up a database down there. Like, is that the idea?
Yeah, Canada's going well. We're building that as well through other click funnels and stuff like that. But a lot of it's still a lot of past clients, centers of influence, stuff like that. And then it's doing well. We're on, like, this year we'll do 50 deals. Like, I think that's decent, right? In a transitional year. Think about a year in Canada. So here, what we did, I've hit this market a lot harder than I did in Canada because it's a little different. A lot of people are coming from out of state, so YouTube's a big thing. I got a lot of American clients through YouTube. I'm like a C-class celebrity at our like community. It's like, oh, Steve, you're the real estate guy. But I used to watch your drones and this, blah, blah, blah. So I was like the trusted source of that. Then we do farm the area. It's, we're 1,200 homes. We're adding a second phase, which with another 1,200 homes to it. It's okay. We're generating business out of that. And then ultimately, good thing is right now we have a lot of Canadians that are buying as well too. So that's a lot of they're calling me, to be honest, which is great. And again, just following up, keeping in touch with them, giving them the information that they need. Like right now we have 4 or 5 people that flew in. This is why I just sent my assistant out with them today. Surprises. Like we're coming on the weekend. It's like, you got to give me notice. I'm not used to this. Usually they have everything planned out, 3 to 5 days in advance, right? But if they're only here for like 48 hours, you got to make do with it. So,
well, man, it seems like you're having a ton of success down there, and I could certainly talk to you about, your prospecting, your real estate business, and the marketing. But we'll save that for another time. This has been fantastic, man. I guess I'd sign off just before we do that and ask you, any final words of wisdom that you want to share with anybody about making a major life move like this, about anything in general. And of course, please let everybody know how they could find you if they do have any further questions about anything we talked about today.
Yeah, I would say if I want to leave off with anybody, I just want everybody to know that they just need to believe in themselves and do what they want, not to be tied down by other people's negativity or comments saying you can't do it. Anybody can. I think you got to have that will and do it. And then ultimately, I mean, the socials, you can find me, Steven Zalunardo. You type it into Google, it'll be all over the place, YouTube, and then also Instagram. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Steve, it's been amazing, man. Very insightful. It's a quick hour spent as usual. It goes by very quickly, but I think we covered a ton of ground today. On that whole topic, as we've mentioned, about how Canadians are relocating to Florida, between the real estate, between the lifestyle, between what people need to know. You've certainly been a wealth of information today. And I know you got a lot going on over there, but I thank you very, very much for making the time to join us, to give us the insights. And I do encourage anybody that if you do have further questions, reach out to Steve, find him on Instagram, Steven Zalunardo, go to his website, contact him, ask him questions and find out, see what more you can ask him about, see how he can help you make that transition, make that move, or share insights with you. Again, he's a businessman, but he's also a father, family man. He's been through, as we've learned today, all the ups and downs of making the move. And I would say a big congratulations to you for having the nerve to actually do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. That's coming a lot from you, buddy. We need a kits down here, man. I'm trying to find one. I don't know.
Listen, we're going to take more of this conversation. We'll continue it off air. Seriously, because I think there's huge opportunity, and I think I saw Jennifer's bags already packed last night. So
she's the client that just landed.
Yeah, she's the one, eh? Steve, buddy, this has been amazing, dude. Thank you very, very much.
God bless. Ciao.
All right, my man. Later. Look. A lot of people are talking about leaving, about starting fresh, about chasing a better life. But of course, fewer are actually making the move. And fewer are building something even after they do make that move. And Steve's not just living in Florida. He's building in Florida. He's growing in businesses. He's helping families. And he's doing it with both feet in. And this is a huge thing. So look, if this episode sparked anything in you, if you've been wondering if life somewhere else is possible, I hope you did get some clarity about all of that today. And more importantly, I hope you understand that, as Steve just said, opportunity truly does exist, but it's only for the people who are truly willing to go after it. If this conversation hit home, do me a favor, subscribe to the show, leave a 5-star review, and please share this episode with someone who's been talking about moving but hasn't made that leap yet. Of course, I want to encourage you to visit the website. Go over to mindshow101.com, grab your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle. If you do want to work with me or find out what it's like to work with me on one-to-one coaching, or you want to bring in momentum training to your office, let's talk. Don't forget, we're here to help you with everything that you want when it comes to both life and business. Be sure to connect me on Facebook and TikTok at Mindshow101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan101. For any inquiries, just get in touch with us today. I want to say a big thank you to Kids Keep in Touch Systems, REM Real Estate Magazine, and Revel Realty for their continued support as sponsors of this show. Until next time, keep building the mind share because it will earn you that market share. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.